We are now recording.
Go.
All right.
Go.
Now listen. I think you knew what was coming here. I don't think I had to tell you, but just in case, you can click this document.
I have no idea what we're doing.
Find out.
Oh my gosh! No! No! No!
Anything but that! Anything but that!
Oh,
you just like freak out.
What's up with the homo in a suit? No, coming from me who wears a suit all the time.
What? Oh, what's he coming to church? You better be coming to church.
He's coming to church. He's worshiping the Lord God Almighty.
Okay. No, I want to make a short film about you, and it's gonna be like Slender Man stalking you, but it's like 3 to 4 minutes of you just getting ready throughout your day with him slightly in the background, like you're getting ready in the morning, but then it's just built suspenseful, so it's quiet, and it's like, and then finally at the end you walk up and he's just there in front of you. You're like, okay, well, I guess you're dressed for church. Let's go.
We were hoping to see you get in a suit and tie one day, buddy. All right, come on, let's go.
Hey, today's the day. He's calling you. Today's the day.
Hey, the Lord's knocking. Are you answering, brother? You know what I'm saying.
Listen, you're not going to be me. Listen, you mean mugging me like that? Come here, listen to my sermon, and you tell me what you think.
Yeah. I'm just like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but I'm kind of the brother of Jesus right now, and so I've got connections. Okay, I would be real careful about what you say to me.
Oh my gosh.
That's gonna be my best promo ever. Is when I go up to somebody and be like, I don't know if you know who I am, but I'm kind of a brother of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. That's he called me one of his sons. So I don't know if you're ready to step up, because I think my dad can take your dad. Everybody's just like staring, like, what? Yeah.
You just starts beating the crap out of
you. I'm just like, Dad. The ultimate heel promo.
By the way, there's a link. We don't need to open that because I have everything we need on here.
Okay.
Because this is some great work. Is there a way I can turn dark mode on?
Yes.
No, I don't think I can unless I get Chrome.
Oh.
That sucks. I'll probably get Chrome soon. I just got Edge because it seems like it does actually run faster on this computer. But with that being said, where are we in time?
Oh my goodness, how many pages is this? The 8 pages?
Whoa, okay, make sure you say that later, because obviously that ties into it. Which, ironically, I don't think I mentioned the 8 pages in this. Now, give me a second. I gotta do 10 more. I gotta research. I want you to know, this is an introduction.
These 8 pages?
Did 8 pages? Wait, that sounds familiar. I didn't even go at 8 pages. That's perfect. I did a great job. On accident. All right.
Bull crap. I'm not listening to all this crap. I don't know who you think I am, but I'm definitely not him, okay? That's for sure.
Hey, you are a Slender Man.
You used to be. Just call me fat. Sorry, my inner demon came out of me. My apologies.
Your inner Slender Man?
No, Slender Gay. Oh. What?
Oh, sorry. All right, let's get into it. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Spooks Files. My name is CMSpooks, and I'm here with, as always, Mr. Hater.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's good to see you
today, that would be true. However, I don't think I've ever seen any of them, and I don't think they've seen you.
That's not the point.
That's fair. However, speaking of things that you probably don't want to see, today we're going to be covering probably the most famous creepypasta of all time. Mr. Hater, Today we are going to be covering the Slender Man.
Oh, no, come on.
So, what do you know about the Slender Man?
Too much. No, too much. You know what? It's like, it's the most overrated meme in the world, and it's bad. Yeah, you heard me. I said it. Slender Man is bad. Prove me wrong. Take your quarter of a page of notes that you've got probably ready, and prove me wrong.
Okay, but can you tell me, like, I know you know something about it, considering your reaction.
I mean,
what's your experience?
He's got a forest, he writes cute little notes, and he leaves them around. And that's about my experience with Slender Man.
Okay. Fair enough. You're just going to ignore the history we have in 2K23. That's fine.
Look, we don't talk about that, okay? That never happened. No recorded evidence.
We don't talk about it till we win one.
Yeah, I'm not talking about it until I actually win one of those stupid things.
All right. I have a picture here. I believe this picture is from Marble Hornets. I just wanted to put something. As always, this Google Doc will be linked in the description for you guys to follow along or just look at later. This one I actually have quite a bit. So, with your strong reaction, Slender Man seems to be the biggest heel in creepypasta to you.
He is. It's just overrated, okay? It's overrated.
He's got some real heat here, but we're gonna go ahead and get into this. So all of this information comes from creepypasta.com, and anything else is just from my general knowledge. I'll mention things as we get to them. We're gonna start from the very beginning.
Genesis?
This one is a tale as old as time. Nope, not that far.
My bad.
No, not that far. All right. Slender Man, in his original form, was created by Eric Knudsen under the alias Victor Surge. Knudsen was responding to a call on Something Awful for posters to contribute digitally altered photographs that would then serve as the base. It is a Photoshop contest for that inspire scary stories. Knudsen posted this on June 10th of 2009, and we are not going to read the rest because we're about to look at those ahead of time.
Oh.
So, go ahead and we'll look.
Wait, is this document is 8 pages? What are we doing? This is I told you I had like 10 minutes. 8 pages. It's just bull crap. Okay, whatever. It's fine. Who cares? Just read it. Just read.
My ears hurt.
I apologize. Not.
Listen, we got to the second page, okay? We're almost there. We have to collect all 8 pages. I'm sure you hear in the background the boom sounds. We have to collect the 8 pages, but we have to actually thoroughly cover the content as canon to the Slender Man, the 8 pages lore.
Oh.
So, if you want to survive this, let alone get to dinner on time, we got to get going. All right. Fine. You see this first picture?
Yes, I see the first.
And by the way,
picture.
I don't know if they're big enough. Can you see it like to the point where like it's? Yeah, this one's pretty big.
Yeah, no, I see it's really big, and that kid right in the front is really weird looking. I wouldn't even say it's creepy. He's just weird.
I think he's a little upset about something or somebody
he just
here.
Took a dump in his pants or something. I don't know.
So I don't know. This is something not many people talked about. If you look at Slender Man's suit here, and I probably got a little close to the mic there. You look at Slender Man's suit here. It looks a little different. Like he doesn't have the tie. It almost looks like a, like the piano players, like in the cartoons or whatever, where they have they don't have a tie, but they have that one shirt.
Yes.
With
yes.
Is that not what that looks like to you? Like he seems a little different attire than what we're used to.
It was the first, it was his first time. He was working out what he was going to wear and do and stuff. You just got to give him a little bit of time,
I will say, imagining from a time before Slenderman became popular, this image out of nowhere would be pretty interesting to see. But it was attached with a caption, which I'm going to allow you to read. It's right under here.
We didn't want to go. We didn't want to kill them. Gosh. But it's presently silenced and outstretched arms, horrified and comforted us at the same time. That's nice. That's
posted in 1983. Photographer unknown, presumed dead.
Wow. Okay. Oof. Big.
I think we can probably write off everyone else in this picture too. Except maybe this kid in the front. He looks like he has some fight.
I think he was the one that killed them.
It's a selfie.
Yeah.
He's holding this. No. So this next picture. These were the two original pictures that Victor Surge posted. Tell me what you see here.
The next picture you're talking about with the children?
Yeah, the next one.
It seems like a really sweet picture of just like a mom taking a picture of her daughter about to go die on one of those metal slides that were hot and like molten lava. And then in the background, you just see some like cultic leader having like, speaking in tongues, and all the children is following him into the dark void of his like ghostly shadow. I don't know if that was an accurate description, but that's what I see.
I mean, I guess fair. You can see Slender Man's, like, I think this is the first time he had tentacles.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and this is the first time he's named. He's just trying to warn her. He says, listen, children. Do not go over to the slide. It is very hot. It will scald you.
He's like,
I'm going to get on the slide anyway.
He's like, stupid. Idiot.
Do not go on the slide. Instead, follow me.
Yeah, there's like as they're down the slide.
Pocket dimension.
Yeah, he's like, don't go down the slide as they're going down it. Whee! He's like, ah.
I'm like to imagine like they're going down and it's scalding hot, and he's using his tentacles one by one as they go to pick them up right as they're about to go down and saving them.
He's like, bad.
Like they got this whole situation wrong.
He's a nice guy.
I'll go ahead and read this caption. One of two recovered photographs from the Sterling City Library blaze. That's a good start. Notable for being taken the day which 14 children vanished, and for what is referred to as the Slender Man. Deformities cited as film defects by officials. So deformities, it's talking about like the weird looking. They're saying that like, the defects is why you can't tell his face and why like the weird tentacle things. So they're explaining it away. They're hiding it from us.
So it's
they don't want us to know that there's a Slender Man. To be fair, I guess that if this was real, they probably would actually like, yeah, dude, it's just a weird photograph. It's nothing.
I don't know what that is. It's weird.
Actual photograph confiscated as evidence. 1986. Photographer Mary Thomas missing since June 13th, 1986. Interesting. So those are the first two. That's the first two posts that Victor Surge did. These first two posts started everything. And for the purposes of the Photoshop contest and the little captions, I think it's pretty interesting. Now this is where it's going to be hard, but wipe your memory of the vast memes and things that you might have seen of Slender Man. With those two pictures in mind, what would you think of this?
Well, I was going to say, like, obviously, there's a lot nowadays about it, but for what this was back then, and like just looking at this, I'm like, this is already like more interesting than most of like the modern stuff I've seen. Specifically, I would say the second picture, like that first picture, it's a little bit more blurrier for me. But that second picture, you just kind of like, it's very subtle. Like you just kind of like look and you're like, wait, what's that in the background? You know what I mean? Like it's like I really like that picture, honestly. Very well done. And like this is already more interesting than like I said, most of the stuff I know from nowadays. In my opinion. For some
reason, these pictures are harder to find. And this second picture is so well done with like the little library photo stamp and whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember this is the type of stuff to where even though we could trace it back to this form, these photos would go around and people who didn't know would think this is real. And whatever conclusions they came to with that is one thing, but I agree. I think a lot of the early lore, we'll say here, is interesting. These two photos, obviously, pretty well done. This is done by some random guy on a Photoshop contest, who likely had no idea what was going to happen next with this property. But yeah, I really do like this photograph. It's kind of sad that like how far it's drifted away to where if you search Slender Man now, you get a lot of these really like obviously fake like dumb images.
Yeah, you get 2K23. I mean, it's you don't get the true heart of it, honestly, which is sad.
Yeah. But and one last thing, obviously, he's associated with children for the most part here, which is preying on the. He's faceless, which I definitely think preys on the like. You don't know who it is. It's more of like a ambiguous, and he clearly is a monster. Okay, the tentacles give it away. We're not just talking, but it does go. It kind of works with the fears of the unknown and kidnapping children and like that type of thing, which is obviously like something that society deals with. So, but I'm gonna keep reading. Again, all this stuff comes from creepypasta.com. Following this initial appearance, the Slender Man character was then picked up by other users who either fit them into their own narratives or wrote short accounts of alleged encounters with the character, sculpting as they did some of the features recognized today. And this is kind of what I miss about this portion of the creepypasta internet is people were not trying to like monetize everything and make money off it, so like it became like these big collective like stories.
Exactly.
Where some of it you could kind of take what you liked, but then also like you could some 12-year-old writes something dumb, you can just ignore it. For each new detail and new account, posters helped in building a mythos around the character that because of its viral scope and myriad of conflicting details and accounts did not retain a canon. Basically what I just said. Days after Nutson's post, a user named LeechCode5 posted a photo with a backstory featuring Slender Man. I was not able to find that one, I believe. I might look. Yeah, I don't think I could find that one specifically. This next one, though, a user known as Thurrock posted a story about a figure in Germany who stalked children on the edge of the forest, providing an invented historical reference point. So we actually have that one coming up later.
Gotcha.
So keep in mind, June 10th is when this was posted. All of this stuff is happening within the next few days. June 14th, that's like 4 days later. On June 20th of the same year, Slender Man became the subject of a YouTube video series based upon an earlier something awful post by Troy Wagner. So Troy Wagner, I remember, I don't have the post, but he wrote in response to the Slender Man thing on that some awful post, I believe. He said like, "This reminds me of something I've seen," or something like that. And then he started posting on Marble Hornets on YouTube.
And that's obviously what
literally 10 days later.
The Marble Hornets is like the stuff that like I've seen a little bit of, a vague amount of, and and kind of see how that all kind of came about and whatnot, and can see where that was actually like really good for at its time and stuff like that, and was like an entertaining kind of like thing, and like, oh, is this real? He was doing something I felt like that wasn't really being done at the time, at least. And then now we know, like you said earlier, it's kind of been corrupted and completely changed. But at the time, it was a pretty original and cool idea, for sure.
Yeah, and we'll get into Marble Hornets a little bit. But yeah, Marble Hornets had a big impact and basically invented, or like, I say basically invented, but like almost every major analog horror creator cites Marble Hornets as an inspiration. It became like... again, we'll get into it a little bit, but literally almost everything in Slender the 8 Pages, which is the first game not the first game, but the game that got popular, that popularized.
The one I know.
Actually, I mean, this I don't have this written down here, so I'll just go ahead and get into this briefly, but horror games and reaction videos of like playing games, like you can credit almost all of that to PewDiePie playing Slender. In like 2012, being the first one to get on there, got millions of views. It got him, popularized him. It brought some other people up into like somewhat notoriety, and changed how games were for a little bit. That's like honestly the formula horror games were until Five Nights at Freddy's came out, and yeah, it started that whole genre.
So it kind of like it was,
eventually,
it was
obviously
revolutionary, honestly. I don't want to say on accident, but like they could not probably have imagined how much it would have had an effect. Obviously.
Yeah, and where I'm getting at with this is just to clarify in case I didn't make it clear. The Slender the 8 Pages game, those 8 pages specifically are like exact drawings from notes scribbled in Marble Hornets. All the locations in Slender the 8 Pages are like very rough versions, but clearly locations that happen in Marble Hornets, such as the tunnel, the thing that looks like a abandoned hospital, all those things, the tower. It's actually like basically more of a Marble Hornets game than it is a Slender game, because from what you can see of the Slender lore at this point, we have a kidnapper of children and some sort of monster. The few notes I'll give about Marble Hornets, I say the few notes as I continue to talk about it, but Marble Hornets, the creators have said that their character is technically, like, it's obviously inspired, but they don't use the name Slender Man. They said they think that name sounds silly. The creature in Marble Hornets is called the Operator. Although I don't think it's ever said explicitly in the series. They've confirmed that's the name of it. And they also, the Operator does not have tentacles, because they also thought that idea was a little silly.
But fair.
Another thing, yeah, that's fair. Another thing that, again, to push how far this goes, did you see anything from what we've read so far about like messing with electronics or static or anything like that?
No, which was like the thing in the game, right? Like that was like the big deal.
Yeah, and that all came from like Marble Hornets. So that's pretty interesting. But we're going to go ahead and move on from Marble Hornets a bit and go back. And so if you remember about the 14th, so 4 days after the original post, this next one, this German historical account was posted. And so I'll go ahead and read this one. A supposed translated account from 1702 describes an alleged incident involving Der Grossman. One note is that for the longest time, longer than I'd like to admit, probably until like 2018, I thought Der Grossman was a real legend because of how well this is written, in my opinion.
What a nerd.
And how similar it is to like fairy tales of the time.
Yeah.
My child, my Lars, he is gone, taken from his bed. The only thing that we found was a scrap of black clothing. It feels like cotton, but it is softer, thicker. Lars came into my bedroom yesterday, screaming at the top of his lungs that the angel is outside. I asked him what he is talking about, and he told me some nonsense fairy story about the Grossman. He said he went into the groves by our village and found one of my cows dead, hanging from a tree. I thought nothing of it at first, but now he is gone. We must find Lars, and my family must leave before we are killed. I'm sorry, my son. I should have listened. May God forgive me. And then that is...
Wow, it's a little late now.
Stop being so dramatic.
Cry me a river.
Real fabric, cry me a river. So, but like, I don't know about you. I thought that sounds like a pretty... Not like, obviously it'd probably be longer, but that sounds like something I could believe is like a real like fairy tale. Not necessarily a fairy tale, but like from the time, like, oh, this person like saw something or...
Yeah.
Well, technically he didn't say he saw anything, which kind of, makes it like... that's all. I like the gray area where like the person who's telling the story can't necessarily prove the supernatural part of it. So it makes it like, okay, well, like this could be something else.
Yeah,
but then it makes you wonder.
Like, well, come on, calm down. This is probably not as big of a deal.
But let me see what else. So the hanging cow. Early Slender Man stories actually had a lot more details about like mutilation and like the. If you think of the Slender Man now, it's more of something that shows up and you don't really know what happens if it gets you. But he's like teleporting and those type of things. The early Slenderman stories didn't have much of that. and it was a lot more of like the actual like. I think the idea was the tentacles would actually be used as weapons, that type of thing. I'm not exactly sure, but like you can. I remember reading some things, and I don't have any examples here, so I can't really verify that. But I don't definitely know there was a lot of like ideas of like the remains would be found in like trash bags or something, which is just as strange. It doesn't sound like the Slender Man we know of.
Right. Not the modern version. You
can credit that to a lot. Like I said, almost everything about what we know about Marble Hornets now, you can credit to Slender Man. You can credit to Marble Hornets, at least all like the rules, if you will. But this next one is actually super interesting because this book is a real book, Ghost Stories from the American South, by W.K. McNeil. And while I don't think obviously it's not literally Slender Man because it was written in like the 60s or 70s, this is a real story. At least, like a real like story that was passed around.
Yeah.
Which I find super interesting when folklore like that. Like this is like what I thought Der Grossman was, but sort of real like American South. So I don't know where exactly, but I know there's a lot of books about Texas ghost stories. So I feel like this might fall into that camp. But either way, most of the tales are collected transcripts. Skimming. Okay. This particular story appears in the book's 7th section titled Other Supernatural Creatures. So I guess they're like labeled in like, these are ghosts and this is what this is. Okay. So this one, you can tell it's written as it's said. So it's not, the grammar is not perfect, but this will allow me to put a little accent on maybe.
Oh boy, here we go.
Okay. Well, when I was younger, a cousin of mine came to live with us. He was older than me and my sisters, maybe 16 or 17. And we was the only folks he had left in the world, really. And he was the awfulest liar you'd ever know. Anything he'd tell you, he was a lie. Almost. I liked him all right. That's a funny thing to follow it with. He's like, this is lies about everything.
He's a liar. I like him.
We slept in a loft during the summer because it was cooler up there. Me and him, and in the winters we slept on the floor closer to the stove. My sisters had their own room, so one night my cousin wakes me by punching me in the shoulder. And it's summer, so we're up in the loft. And my first thought when he wakes me up is just to push him out, because I'm not happy at being waked up, But before I can say anything, he puts his hands over my mouth, and even though it's dark, I can hear that he's scared. Listen, he says, and so I listen real careful. It's this scratching, like something on the roof. And the roof is right over our heads, mind you, because we're in the loft. I was a trifle rattled, and I wasn't having none of it, so I says to him, it's just a raccoon or a cat. No, says John. I heard it before I waked you up. It's like footsteps, like someone's walking up there. I wasn't taking no truck with that. I told you he was the awfulest liar. Real quick, I cannot forget this phrase ever. Okay, give me a second. I ain't taking no truck with that. I told you. Okay. So I went back to sleep, but the next day my cousin tried to tell Pap about it, and Pap wasn't having no truck with it either. But one night later on, when we was all having supper, Pap sent out my youngest sister to fetch water from the pump we had in the back. Do you think this is like how your dad talked when he was a kid? Do you think he slightly became?
No, because he grew up in Fort Worth, where with just all the in the hood, like his school was 97 to 99% African American. And so I don't honestly know. Wow. I don't even know where he got his southern part from, because from my understanding, he did not talk like that. he was much more.
Well, I'd have to imagine Even though it would sound different, like there'd still be a bit of a southern accent.
Yeah, there was definitely some, but from my understanding, it wasn't until he moved out of Fort Worth, like when he was.
He wasn't full redneck like this.
Yeah, no, it wasn't until he got older because he was much more of like I guess you'd say hood style of talking.
He developed redneckism at the age of 17.
Pretty much. It's fine.
After a while, we heard Lily scream, and it was Ma who got up first, and then Pap. The rest of us stayed at the table because we was likely to get in trouble if Lily was hurt, and we was there to gloat. Soon enough, though, we heard Pap and Ma shouting too. So me and John went out to see if they needed our help. All they had was the water pail Lily carried out, and there wasn't no other sign of her. At first, they didn't understand what was going on with Ma and Pop shouting. And by that time, my other sisters come out and they started crying. And my cousin was just there standing in the yard looking off towards something. "It's the man walking yonder," he yells. And he's pointing out across the field. No one's listening to him but me. They keep saying it. "It's the man walking yonder. It's the man walking yonder." You already know it was supper time, so you know the sun was setting and it was hard to see. I know that caught me off guard. I get, like, okay, that's a way to tell, like, it's late. He said you already know it's because he's talking to someone when he's telling his story. So he's letting them know, like, I already told you it was supper time. So he's kind of just giving unnecessary details. But that caught me off guard, like that he's talking about the monster and the girl was gone. But he's like, you already know it was supper time. And I thought he was about to start talking about supper. Like, wait.
Like, well, I mean, I was hungry, you know. I mean, she's gone, so there's nothing I can do.
He went back in and ate while they were freaking out.
Oh.
So you know the sun was setting. It was hard to see. But when I looked out over that field at the back of the house, the whole thing was lit up orange. There was a row of big black trees that was like the edge of the woods, you know. And I swear to you, I saw one of the trees moving like a man walking away. But it couldn't have been a man, because there ain't no man that tall and skinny. Pap seen it too, I think. He took us inside and locked all the doors, and he made us keep still while he got out his rifle. We waited till like that all night, Ma crying the whole time. When the sun came up, we took a wagon into town and told folks what happened. Though as I recall, nothing much came of it. Yeah, unfortunately, the sheriff was like, oh, okay, well, we know exactly who the 9-foot-tall man is. We'll go get him.
Yeah, don't worry.
John ran off a few weeks later, and we got a new house close. Okay, so John ran off a few weeks later. This is something I had thought about when I had first listened to this story. I wonder if he actually ran off, or if something happened to old John. But we got a new house closer to the mill where Pat worked. I still can't manage to look at the trees during sunset, though, especially not on windy days when they all move back and forth, like a man walking away. Here are McNeil's notes. Okay, so that's the end of the story. Real quick, before we get into that, what do you think of that? Because we established that story was for sure written in like the 80s or earlier, probably closer to like 60s. And obviously it doesn't say he's a faceless man in a suit or anything, but everything else about that lines up very much with the initial Slender Man
traditional story. It's interesting how some of these just like line up so well, and you're just kind of like, that's weird.
He is real. Actually, so it says it right here, so that's perfect. I could have just waited 2 seconds. Collected September 1963 by Ezem Cathell. So I guess that's whoever heard the story. From an unnamed 70-year-old white male in Baru, Kentucky. The informant obviously believes the events occurred and presents them as a personal experience. The opening makes it unclear whether or not the informant is using the story as a conversation piece, which would make its apparent melancholy less sincere, or if he is responding to a question posed by Cathell. Regardless, the informant is obviously skilled at telling stories, going so far as to incorporate limited characterization and dialogue. I just found that interesting because, like, the person who's writing this book, which I'm kind of interested in getting now, is clearly like he's kind of like trying to discern.
Yeah.
The intent of the so like you can't really ever tell if it's real or not, but you can figure out if they think it's real. You can figure out like And that's kind of what he's doing. And he seems to think he's mostly genuine here, but he's also pointing out that this person obviously
So when was this book written again? What does it say? Is that 1963? Is that it?
Collected that's when that story was collected, is it what it's saying. So like that person got that story at that time. Yeah. I don't know exactly when the book is written.
So in theory, this story happened before 1960s. In theory.
Oh, yeah, and he's telling it from when he was a kid, so we're talking about 40s probably. 40s, well, that guy was a 70-year-old man. 70-year-old man, so 40s. But like, okay, let me think. So like 60, so...
No, I bet it like 20s.
Yeah, the early 1900s at least. That's
crazy, yeah.
Obviously, you know, it's obviously likely that it's just coincidental in nature, but that's something that always stuck with me. And for the longest time, because I knew they had people who made the fake folklore, like their Grossman, I thought that one was one of them too. So that's very interesting when I found out pretty recently that that's actually a real ghost story from the American South. But I'm going to go ahead and keep moving on. We got to keep chugging along here. You see the picture here of the hieroglyphs?
Hieroglyphics. Yeah.
So this, I'm guessing we're looking at this top left thing, which looks like a man with tentacles. The earliest argued reference to the legend is within the cave paintings found in Sur de Capivara National Park in the northeast of Brazil. So I want to say I am not 100% certain of the legitimacy of these hieroglyphs and stuff like that. I think these are probably real, and I would chalk it up to creatures such as similar to the Slender Man, like as we looked in that book, have been like in folklore. So it's kind of eerie, but also like the obvious explanation is that, you know, just similar tales are told. If you really want to like look into it, I guess it's like, or it's not impossible that there is a similar type of spirit, creature, whatever you would want to say, that has a similar thing. Like obviously it lines up with a lot of like fairy folk tales of like children being taken away for being bad and stuff like that. So we can get into that later. Obviously the original Slender Man story that we've looked at so far, besides that last one, is for sure not real. But it's interesting to see that similar things do exist in folklore. Okay, so this strangely elongated character is leading a child by the hand. I just did something to the dock on accident. Let's fix that. There we go. Egyptian hieroglyphs. Next known possible reference, Slender Man comes from 3100 BC. By the way, the other one said 9000 BC. Take that what you will. In Lower Egypt, with references to the thief of the gods or the thief of Kuk becoming commonplace. So we don't even have a picture of this one, so we can't really say much. This next one, German wood carvings. So this German wood carving is the original, but there was actually, like, if you look at it, like, there was, for a while there was one. Is this the original? Yes, this is. Okay, so there was one of this creature, but it had multiple limbs, and people were saying that was real. It turns out this is a real wood carving, but it was edited by some people to make it look more Slenderman-like by having multiple limbs. I still think in its present state, like a skeletal thing, I can kind of see where there might be some connection. But if it had been multi-limbed, that would be a lot more of a connection.
Yeah. For part of me, it's just kind of like this doesn't seem to really.
Yeah, I don't believe it's related. Really, it's a skeleton.
Yeah, related. Yeah, it just sounds like
it's creepy.
It's just a skeleton.
I mean, it's a bit creepy. It's a skeleton.
Yeah,
it's like a spear. Now here,
but it's like, what does that have to do with like a 10-foot tall dude in a suit, or anything even close to that? Obviously that's the modern version, but you know what I mean.
And again, I can't verify these next two. These next two seem a lot closer though. There's a Romanian fairy tale which tells the tale of the tall man, featuring this description, which may have been taken to refer to Slender Man. The tall man stood in a clearing, dressed as a nobleman in all black. Okay, that's honestly very dressed in a nobleman. Is probably about the best way to say it. Is dressed nice, which if we're to take Slender Man as being a creature that has existed, I very much doubt back then it would be wearing a modern suit. So maybe it's appearing as like, I don't know why, but the suit or whatever it wears is appearing to look like a wealthy person of the time it's in.
Probably. I feel like that'd be the most logical conclusion.
I find that pretty interesting.
That he would dress to be the most appropriate of that time period that he is in.
You see, I really want to see like Slender Man, what he would look like if he was in like Japan. I was thinking more of like Old Testament times. What would Slender Man be wearing?
He walking up to Moses like, "Sup?"
I was gonna say Adam and Eve times, but then he'd just be naked.
That'd be awkward.
See, he had many arms, all long and boneless as snakes, as sharp as swords, and they writhed like worms on nails. He did not speak, but made his intentions known. That is actually like that sentence right there goes hard. He did not speak, but made his intentions known. Like, okay, yeah, this guy means business.
Okay.
In the fairy tale, the tall man causes a mother to kill her husband and child before he slid from the fireplace and clenched her in a burning embrace. So, again, I reiterate for the last time, just to be clear, I have no idea if this is a real fairy tale or if this is one made up, along with like the German one from earlier. However, there's a reason I separated them, because that German one I knew for sure was fake. However, if this is real, this is like spot on Slender Man, like just told in a different time, which is pretty freaky. The only thing not mentioning, obviously, is the no face, but you would think that would be mentioned. But everything else lining up, like I don't really know what to say. But there's also an English myth referring to the tree man, who is said to have slim body with appendages that looks like tree branches. It is known to be seen in the woods and was used as a story that parents told their children to thwart bad behavior. There have been quite a few disappearances of children that have been linked. So again, this one lines up pretty well. My one thing I'm wondering is, none of the Slender Man lore so far technically has said that he has no face. It's only been shown in photographs. So I wonder, the idea has been like put out that like maybe the face just doesn't show up on photographs somehow. Maybe when people see it, it's like an indistinguishable face. Like they can't really, it's nothing, like the idea of like when you see an angel, like you can't tell like the face later or whatever. I don't know if you ever heard that before, but I'm not saying that's true. Yeah. I've just heard that. That's kind of
what talking to angel weirdo. Is that what you're doing?
Interestingly, does tie actually in with the at least in the German folktale, him saying the angel is outside or something. Which I would initially be like, okay, but why would you call that an angel? But also like, there are some interesting looking angels, and also if this thing is real, I can be as certain it's a fallen angel. So
I'm not saying it's Satan. Well, maybe his brother, distant cousin,
maybe his sister, his
his
mom, his dad,
sister. Good night. Yeah, she ugly.
She's a pretty lady.
She's a pretty lady,
They just caked up way too much makeup on. You can't even see your face.
That's the story. That's what happened. Makes sense now. Why didn't you tell me that from the beginning?
All right, so that's most of the initial stories and some of the folklore. There is plenty of other stuff.
Yeah,
some
I'm
really
sure
good like creepypastas.
I feel like this version of Slender Man and like stuff like the main part that we kind of saw. Then obviously there's some extra stuff, whatever. But like I feel like this is way more interesting, like, entertaining than, like, the crap that you see, like, modernly, I guess you would say, or maybe modernly would be in the last 10 years, maybe, you know, would be a better way of saying it. I'm not saying there's stuff coming out every single day, but, you know, the last 10 or so years, I feel like the modern stuff is pretty meh at best a lot of times, like, or just like whether it's meme stuff or whatever. He's definitely become a meme when he actually at first was like an actually interesting concept and like story, you know.
Yeah, that's definitely a big. Sorry, I was like that. Yeah, that's definitely a big thing about it. Is there's definitely a lot more. I don't know if this is the right term, but like the name initially was kind of almost held with reverence as like as a monster, and then I think it's probably after the game came out that led to anything gets popular, it's gonna become a meme. It's gonna get memed on. It's gonna. So here's what I'm gonna do.
Link into the doc, okay.
I'm gonna add a link into this doc real quick. So right here we have, you've seen these. I'm gonna add it after this, and then we're gonna get rid of these.
There. I can. Oh, okay, yeah, I can. I was gonna say I cannot.
Not working.
Actually, I can.
Can you click these links? Oh yeah, okay. Okay. Go ahead and open introduction, and then pause it, and then we'll make sure we time it.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna go later on and edit these into the visuals.
Alrighty, I'm on YouTube. Alright, give me a countdown.
So tell me when you're ready to go.
3, 2, 1, go. Here we go.
All right, 3, 2,
Driving
1,
sounds.
go.
My audio is not on.
Yeah,
but I have seen this before.
On. I don't know if your audio's on or not, but
I believe so. This one looks very familiar. I think you showed it to me years ago.
You've seen this one?
Over the 3 months that they took the place, a film's crew complained.
Can you read it out loud as you see it?
Near the end of the shooting, Alex halted production, identifying and dropped unfinished project. He told me it was due to the unworkable conditions on the set, which was less than a mile away from his house. I asked what he planned to do with the content number he taped. He had filed. Burn them. Alright, it's a little much, buddy. Being a film student myself, I hated to see all that work go to waste. And after some coercing, he agreed to give them to me. I robbed him, under the condition that I never mention it to him again. And then he sent him a copy of the videos. Sent him the link to the channel. Soon after Alex transferred to another school, and I haven't seen him since.
Bro, did you see this?
At the time, I was too unnerved to look through the tapes and eventually forgot about them. A few days ago, I found them filed away and in the back of my closet. After 3 years and zero contact with Alex, I have decided to look through them. All the tapes are unnumbered and missing timestamps other than taking place in the summer of 2006. It's impossible to determine the exact order or date of each. Should I find anything or any of them, I will upload to keep as a permanent record. Oh, that's it. Okay. And that was the only video. It's like that was it.
Nope. So, yeah. And if you notice in the description, that would be funny. Yeah, there's nothing on here. But the description, you can notice it actually. This is the original. It's dated June 10th, 20th, 2009, which is, like I said, 10 days after the initial Slenderman thing was created. Like I said, they got on it quick. I believe the actual story is that he straight up was just like, "Hey, there's a lot of pictures here, but no one's made a video yet." And they're like, "Okay, cool."
Wow, they have not made a video since 9 years ago.
Yeah. They all died.
Well, yeah, he got them.
And let's see. I'm gonna.
But yeah, I've seen. I think like the first 5. I want to say it was something like that. We watched.
Okay. That's it. I didn't.
I
remember
want to say.
What I'm gonna do is, because obviously, we're gonna wrap this up pretty soon. Go ahead and click the bottom link. We're gonna go ahead and look at that.
Okay.
But this is kind of a general gauge of interest, we'll say, and we're probably not even gonna watch this whole thing. But my idea is that depending on reception and interest, this might be something that would be worth doing a watch along. And honestly, if we could figure out how to get streaming going, this would be something that would be fun to do during a stream probably, and we can talk about it while going over it. Because I will say, This is something that is very well done in my opinion, but also it would be pretty rough to watch it on your own unless you're like really good at looking for every little detail and stuff. But this is focusing on some of the appearances, and really I just wanted you to see how some of the effects look. Obviously in context these are a lot better, but that's why we're not going to watch the whole thing, because I don't want to give it away in case we do something with it later. But alright, we'll go ahead and start in 3, 2, 1,
2,
go.
1.
So this is in order, I believe. This is the first entry, is the one you just saw. In the third entry. And again, this is cutting out everything but when he's showing up. And early on, you can see that, he's actually moving, which is something that is not characteristic of him. This one in the car, him moving his head back just to make it visible. My video's having some errors, so I might be a few seconds behind you actually, but tell me what you're seeing.
I'm in the forest.
Okay, cool.
Where he's in the forest. I paused for a second, so you should be able to kind of have caught up there. Some of these are like that. The one of him moving at the window is actually, I can actually see where that was creepy and eerie. You know.
Yeah. What did you think of that one? Okay, go back here real quick. Around 42. Where he looks like, I really like that one.
42, yeah, where he just like he comes around the corner, he's like, whoop.
And then this is one where the next one he's peeking through the door and he actually moves in. A lot of people actually said they liked this old version where he was actually moving, but in the movements were like kind of slow and jerky instead of him being still. Let's see, I'm kind of just skimming through now.
Yeah, this is actually kind of cool to see, like, the history of this.
You can also, if you get closer to the end, you start seeing the effects get a lot better. There's a particular...
Oh, it took me a second to find him on that one, where he was.
Okay, there's a specific 2 moments I want you to go to. So go.
Oh, the tunnel one. Okay, I see the tunnel one now. That's cool.
Okay, yeah, keep watching for it. Tell me what, because the tunnel one is the one I wanted you to see where he's like,
yeah.
That's the tunnel in the game. And then tell me when you get to the hotel room.
Okay. Right now we're like looking at the outside
it's like 3
of the car
minutes
on the back. I love every time they see them, like, and they duck down and they run. Oh, that one actually, I'm not gonna lie, that one freaked me out.
Which one?
Okay, go to 204.
Oh, you're way back. Never mind.
Okay, go to, let's see, where was it? So 202, and I'm at 202. So you had like the first one, they kind of saw him and they ducked down, and then they like repeated the shot. And I don't know why my heart just skipped a beat. Yeah, it was like he was right there. I was like, what in the world? I wasn't ready for that one, and so that one got me. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, he's
so now
right there.
I am at 217.
All right, so skip to 240.
Watching these.
Start pressing play.
240. Okay, I'm at 239.
All right, go ahead.
Oh.
And you could probably just watch it from there.
I was like, he's in the background just standing there. Just like, oh.
Some of these are out of context, obviously. Like, you probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like, he just ran straight at him if you're.
Yeah, I was like, what the crap?
But that's one of my favorite shots in it because it just looks like you can see him in full view. You can tell. Like, it's hard to tell because it's blurry, but also like he just. Some of these shots are really convincing. Like about as convincing.
So like I could see what you're saying. How the effects got a lot better as it
yeah
as it went on.
That'll be a good summation of it. I'm not really sure how I'm gonna edit that. Probably just leave the link in the video. So I'll go ahead and on this doc just go ahead and write. I'll just leave the 2 links and the people can follow along if they want to. But pretty much that was kind of get a gauge of some of the appearances, and that's where most of the effects come from and the ideas. So Marble Hornets is something that for me is a big inspiration in a lot of it. I think that it's very well done, and that's why obviously, despite all the dumb stuff that's come with Slender later, I still think there's a lot of cool ideas with the concept. Do you have any thoughts on that, like overall on what we've covered in this episode, which is probably going to be our longest episode for sure?
So I think this is where I'm ending it off. This is my final thoughts on everything. Slender Man is still overrated, but it originally was at least. So he's still better. It at least was good when it started, and it's just kind of become crap since then. Like, and I'm talking about Marble Hornets time, and prior, but like, in the last 5 to 10 years, like we said,
basically, it's like post Marble Hornets, it went down the drain.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which, if you notice, Marble Hornets ended in 2013, which is around the time also around the time Slender the Arrival came out, which is the game I have on my PlayStation that you might have seen a brief bit of. Which Slender the Arrival was a sequel made of Slender the 8 Pages. A little fun fact is that because Slender the 8 Pages was inspired by Marble Hornets, that sequel came out a year later, much higher production value, but they also got the Marble Hornets crew to write on it. They had to cut out a bunch of stuff, so it's not like as good as it could have been, but it still has a story that's fairly interesting. And it's a pretty solid game. I feel like it's a little overlooked because most people played the original low-budget one. But, yeah, Marble Hornets is something that I think would be fun to maybe do a bit of watch-through commentary on. Just because I feel like it's a good how should I say, it's a good balance. It's not something that, while there are secrets, it's also something we could totally just like talk about through without having to worry about missing big things. And obviously, I think that there's some merit there. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the one thing, this is something you might find interesting. But one thing I confirmed for Marble Hornets that I really appreciate is that there are no cuss words in the entirety of it. I'm not sure why they did it. Maybe just for YouTube marketability or what. But for some reason they decided to stick to that, it seems. Because I very much doubt that was something that happened on accident. So
yeah. Unless it's just like not how they normally are.
It's pretty interesting, and without getting into detail, I think like you can see that video. Whether this is something you think is a positive or not, that video covered about at least half of the appearances he is actually in the entire series, because the series obviously it's like it's scarier when you don't show it all the time, but also there's a lot of elements of it that play independent of him, which is part of the bigger narrative. But that was an overview of Slender Man, Marble Hornets being a huge chunk of that, so I felt like we couldn't just overlook that entirely. There are more things, and there are more good things about Slender Man, but I think that the further it got from these original ideas, and the more it became a jump scare game and memes, the less quality obviously came of it.
Mm-hmm.
However, I still think there's, like I said, I still think there's merit in the concept. It's obviously very, I mean, I don't know if this is something you considered, but it has a lot of similarities, honestly, to the rake concept in the idea. I doubt it was inspired directly by the rake. However, they are definitely like intertwined as like early big creepypasta monsters. So I guess the last thing we leave it off on is, obviously there's a bunch of stories here. There's not just one. But I guess as a collective idea, where does this rank among the things we've covered so far?
I probably still like the rake more just because like it hasn't been tainted. Does that make sense? Like,
that's true. You haven't been overexposed to it in meme ways. There's been some stuff, but not near to the level of. And
even like what's done good, it's just it's kind of like beating a dead horse. You know what I mean? Like eventually, at some point, you're just kind of like, okay, we need a break from it.
Sorry, you go ahead. That was kind of.
Oh, I was gonna say, so I'd say the rake is probably still, but I like I said, I'd put this as a tie with Pokemon Black, and then with Smiling Man. I know they're all ties. Eventually, I'll actually rank them, but like just off the top of my head, like it was that level of enjoyment for me.
So I guess
maybe a tie with the rake. Honestly, maybe a tie with the rake.
That's what I said. I'd say from what we saw here, to me, it's about comparative quality to the rake. Personally, as someone who's more interested in this concept, I enjoy it more. However, if I looked at like each individual story, the rake had a better individual story than any of these, because all of these were short snippets. However, Slender Man has over time collected a much more interesting lore, and I think when you compile it all together, it brings this weird case of like, oh, is this thing, like, we know it's not real, but like it's this compelling case of something being real as something we obviously know isn't real, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, either way, I think we've definitely been going a little while. I think it's time we go ahead and wrap this up. But before we go, I just need to go ahead and ask you, those tapes I left with you, I would really appreciate if you just burn them like I told you to, and don't make a 7-year-long YouTube series about them.
Don't worry, I'm not going to. I just put it on TikTok. It's fine.